welcome. We have a super special guest today. Her name is Blythe, and she is a beach commuter. She is a listener of our podcast. She follows along. She is living the digital nomad life and dream right now, and sent us a beautiful email just talking about some questions about some of her stuff where she is right now. And I thought, like, how exciting. You're living it. And so I asked Blythe if she would be a guest on our podcast so you guys could hear from people out in the real world, fellow beach commuters just like you, to know that this life is absolutely possible for you. And it's not just me and Jeff and Diego living this life. We promise. Other people in the world are too. So Blythe, welcome to the podcast.
Thank you. I'm very happy to be here. I consider myself the grandmother of digital nomads.
I love it. Yeah, so you've been at this for a while and in different capacities. So before we do, let's start from the beginning of just, can you quickly tell people where you're from, where you kind of used to live before you started this, and how in the world did you get into the digital nomad life, and where'd you start?
Yes, so I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina, and I moved around quite a lot, but I am a Southerner through and through. Spent most of my life in the South. And I, like many people that enjoy traveling and digital nomading, for example, got into the idea because I lived abroad in my youth. When I was 25, I took off and moved to Thailand and was teaching English.
I love it.
And
that is the typical start for so many nomads. Way back in the day anyway, of the OG nomads all started in Thailand teaching English. It was the path to just get there. And then I feel from there, everyone was like, wait, there's more? Okay.
It really was. That was your only option, really. Yeah. I genuinely had an interest in potentially working in international banking. And that was really my motivation for going to that part of the world. But I had a really unusual experience there where I got a job. I was teaching English, but I was teaching it for the Royal Palace of Thailand. And
what?
they actually had me living in the palace teaching at one of their schools.
Oh, this is amazing. I didn't even know this.
Yeah, so I lived like royalty for a year. I can't even sort of describe.
What was that like? I know if you had to even try to describe, what was that like? This is my favorite story.
Let me say this. I was extremely entitled.
Did you get to have access to all the things there?
I did. I had access to areas of Thailand that Thai people could not access. I had to go through so many security gates to get home. I lived with the help. So the butler's kids were my friends and they would come visit me. But I had a chauffeur, a bodyguard, food delivered every day. Wow. I paid for nothing. I made peanuts.
This is not where I thought this podcast was going, but I'm so excited about it. This is why I love digital nomads have the best stories.
It was a crazy, crazy experience, but I was very young. I had never been abroad before.
And so Thailand was your first trip abroad in the country.
Yes.
You're bold.
I'm stupid.
But how did you end up teaching? I mean, I always say ignorance is bliss with nomad life. And if I knew half the things that I knew now living it and how hard it is, and we try to share those things and we are very honest about it. But I feel like you kind of have to have that I don't really know everything and I'm just going to jump in and do it, because otherwise you don't do anything in life. It's
well, that's why we always say do it when you're young, because you don't think about that stuff. And that's a good thing. It really is a good thing. I was very grateful because my parents are not travelers, and I was shocked that they supported the decision to leave and go.
They did.
And they gave me a pep talk when I got there, because I was crying in a ball and wanting to come home after 24 hours when I landed.
I know, it's scary when you actually get there and you're like, where am I? I don't know anyone. What have I done? This is terrifying.
But
and thank you for sharing that, because I think it it normalizes that aspect of it. Because how long did it take you to be okay, I'm not terrified, I'm actually happy I've done this and this is amazing? And there's ups and downs along the way, of course.
I would say when you travel to the other side of the world, especially, 12-hour time difference.
Yeah,
it takes a month. Yes, it takes a month to actually get your bearings and and feel like you're okay. And so when that month hits, it's like euphoria. Oh my God, I understand how to buy things and talk to people and take a bus. And you're just like,
Yeah.
the world is your oyster at that point. But it
Yeah.
definitely took some time. Like I said, I was very young. I didn't have much of a plan. And back then,
Right.
this was your only option to work. I
Yeah.
just
Yeah.
happened to get the best job ever.
Yeah. And how did you
Yeah.
even discover that? Or like, did you have an inkling that you were like, I want to travel and found that? Or did you find that and you were like, I guess I'll do it? Like, how did that even happen for you?
I did it out of necessity. I was finishing up graduate school. I was broke. And it was like, if I want to do this, I'm working part-time as a waitress. I
Right.
have to earn money as I go. So
Yeah.
I earned just enough for the plane ticket and, a couple of $1,000, I think, is
Right.
backup.
Just in case.
Exactly.
If everything fails.
But the nice thing of even today, I mean, as much as you might say, well, if you teach English, that's kind of a short-term thing, or that's not going to make
Right.
much money. It's true to a certain extent,
Right.
but it's an amazing fallback because an English teaching certificate never expires.
Right.
And no matter where you go in the world, you can probably get a job teaching English somewhere.
That's true.
So as I look back and I'm like, I'm so grateful that I did that because I
Yeah.
didn't use it all that much at the time, over the last 20 years. But man, it opened the doors, and then the experience itself. I mean, you get into the palace of Thailand and you're not afraid of anything
You have
anymore.
stories for life.
Yeah,
That's
you
amazing.
don't, nothing intimidates you.
Yeah.
So I became a really good networker just from having accomplished that.
Yeah. And I love that. And I think that so many people, like as a career coach, so many people are afraid. Let's say they're listening to this and they maybe have been in a job for X number of years. And so many people are afraid to make a change or that the next thing they do isn't going to be what they want to do. And then like, it looks bad on their resume or they've wasted this time. And I love what you're saying here. And I know maybe we'll even take your own advice from it. But the path that we have of seemingly random things, I always say, like, you're not starting over, you're starting from experience. Even if that experience isn't like what you end up doing in the future. Like just the boldness of doing that, of having that background. And there's probably aspects of it that you learned or did, or even if it just got you traveling or in this experience in the palace, like that's okay. Like it's what makes life so beautiful in these paths. And I think so many people are like, I know for me, when I was at Pepsi and I was like, I need to do something different. I want to travel. I want to do something. I don't know what it is. I was so afraid to like leave without knowing like what am I going to do forevermore, but it's been such a winding path. And I think the beauty is taking the courage just to take steps even when you're like, I don't know why I'm moving to Thailand to teach English, but it just feels
But I'm
right,
here
so here you
now.
go, here you are. And I'm sure that's led you onward. So where like yeah, so after the palace in
Yes.
Thailand, what came next for you? Never words I
So
never thought I'd say.
I know. Well, I had a bit of a scary incident at the end of the school term where I got really sick. I have chronic asthma, or I had chronic asthma as a younger person. I was living in the middle of Bangkok where there's days where the pollution is
So
so
much
bad you
smog,
cannot
yeah.
see in front of you.
Yeah.
It's a challenge. So I ended up in the hospital, which was the nicest hospital I've ever been to in my entire life. I had room service and a two-bedroom
Oh my
suite.
gosh. Whoa. Was this because of the palace or that's just the hospital in Thailand?
That's the foreigner hospital of Thailand.
Interesting.
So I
Okay.
definitely did have some hookups,
Right.
but medical tourism is a big thing in Thailand for a reason, and I was exposed to it firsthand. But
It's such a
I
yeah, it's
had
an interesting point
amazing
because so
care.
many people are afraid of like, what if I'm in another country and I have a healthcare problem? We forget like there's healthcare in other countries and sometimes it's better and
It's
sometimes it's not, but you never know.
I've in most cases it's been better. I hate to say
My experience
it,
too.
but
Yeah.
I had all my doctors were from Johns Hopkins. I mean,
Oh,
it
interesting.
was amazing, amazing care. So I was there for a week and, I had the option to renew, I had the option to stay, but I was really young. I look back and I'm just like, I was not ready to commit to completely uprooting my life and staying on the other side of the world. I had
Right.
a boyfriend back home. I had family I was really close to. My sister was subletting my apartment and she'd probably fly over and murder me if I just left her hanging. So I knew that my responsibilities were looming. I had student loans to pay.
Yep.
A lot of times you don't think about, you live in Thailand. I was working at the Palace, and I don't want to say how much I was making, but it was less than $500 a month.
Wow.
That doesn't help you when you have obligations back home. So I made the decision to go home and get a job and try to be as normal and adult as possible. And that's what I did. I kind of went down a path that was
tried
not,
to be as
yeah, I
normal.
went down a path that was not very me, but it was really necessary to get the career experience and the life experience to do what I'm doing today. Uh,
Yeah.
Jumping in and moving abroad when you're very young is awesome, but you don't know shit. And you don't have experience, and you don't have a professional network or even a personal network that's going to support you and lift you up when you need help. And I needed to do that back home. And that's what I did. I went back and I worked and worked and worked until the age of 40. And then I turned
Wow.
40 and had the best midlife crisis ever and decided I was finished and quit my job, went contract, and moved abroad. And I moved to Spain.
I love it. So, what career were you doing when you were back in the States for all that time? And I love that, like, we spent so much longer. We're like, all this time
That's
for,
okay.
like, such a blip of time in Thailand. And then we're like, and then, like, 15 years passed, and now here I am. You know what I mean? But that's
It's
kind of the story of, like, that's what it feels like often to work a job that doesn't align with you in a country that doesn't inspire you anymore. And it's like, and then that just passed me by. So I
right.
kind of love that you said that. But what were you doing during that time?
So I kind of fell into marketing,
Yeah.
and which was sort of natural for me. I have a creative and a very logical side to my brain. And I was marketing in financial services and professional services. So think lawyers, accountants, bankers,
Right.
that type of world. I'm from Charlotte, North Carolina. It is a banking town.
I was
Bank of
gonna say,
America
yeah, if
is,
you're in
yeah,
Charlotte, it's like B of A, everything's
it
there.
is but it is super, super, super traditional in terms of
Yes.
the business and how things are run. I really had to sort of fall in line with those expectations for a really long time. And, I was doing work that I genuinely liked in
Right.
an environment that I was just so bored with.
Yeah.
And that's really what it came down to for me. I decided that I wanted to really dive back into what I loved, which was moving abroad. I had no intention of being a digital nomad, and I hate to
Right.
say that, but it's
I still
true.
don't really like the phrase is a weird, we
Yeah,
call it, like, people can find the podcast. That's honestly why it's called this. So if you search it, just so you know, if you're hearing this, maybe you searched
of
and found it
course.
in that way. But it's such a cliche term, and I think a lot of people don't align with it. Like, it's, I don't know. But yeah, so I know you
Yeah.
you meant just to be in, you meant to kind of like be in one place
I
abroad.
really wanted to move abroad and dive into a different environment. I call
Yeah.
it being an adult exchange student because
I love it.
you really want to immerse yourself with
Yeah.
the world around you. But did I think Spain was going to be the be all end all? No, I absolutely did not. I've
Right.
already
So how did
traveled
you choose
abroad.
Spain, and why there?
At the time, I remember I wanted to start in a urban hub that was relatively affordable.
Right.
Because in my experience, whenever you're going to a completely new environment, you kind of start at the easy points and then you branch
Yes.
out.
That's good
So,
advice for anyone listening. So, like,
yes.
yeah, once you know that it's like things are easier in the city, there's people, there's things, they speak, and then you kind of can keep going out where it gets a little harder, but you're already familiar with the country or the traditions or whatever it is.
100%. And I really latched on to Spain as a country for visa purposes. I wanted to stay longer than 3 months.
Right.
And I had the opportunity to go back into a teaching training program and learn Spanish. I didn't know Spanish at all, by the way. I'm an idiot.
Amazing.
And I had to learn it from scratch. But learning it from scratch gives me a student visa and allows me to stay
Oh,
longer. So I enrolled in a program where I could learn the language. I could get some advanced training in teaching if I wanted to fall back into teaching. And that was really the motivating factor to go to Spain as the country. Digital nomad visas didn't actually exist there at
no.
that time.
Really
Maybe
only a couple years
Portugal.
ago. Yeah.
Exactly. But Otherwise, you're kind of piecing together whatever opportunity you can find to legally move
Yeah.
somewhere.
And to
So
stay somewhere for
that
a
was my
longer
motivation.
period of time.
Yeah.
That's amazing. And
Yeah.
this is why I love just hearing real people's stories, right? Because we can shout from the rooftops of like, go where you want, you'll figure it out. There is a way. But when you hear your real story of like, I don't know, you just wanted to go somewhere and you found a way to get a visa in this way and you made it work and you like you just piece it together and you figure it out, and it's not a one size fits all for everyone. And I just love this piece of
No.
your story because I think it's so helpful to hear, right? It's like there's always some way to go somewhere close to where you want or exactly where you want, and you'll figure out scrappy ways. And the world and rules are always changing, and digital nomad, it's much easier now than it was before, for sure. So
Oh
how
my
long
gosh,
did
it
you
is like
stay in
night and
Spain?
day.
Yeah.
It is so, the landscape today is so incredibly different. Still
Yeah.
challenging, don't get me wrong.
Yes. But
But from a
easier.
professional standpoint, there are so many more opportunities. And that's been really, really nice. My first year was a complete scramble because I was
Yeah.
working contract in the same job I was doing for a smaller company. And just trying to figure out, oh my, because the clock's always ticking. It's like, oh my God, I have 9 months left. What do I do now? So you have to always be mindful of that and constantly adjust. So
Yeah.
that's how I had
It's
to do it.
great advice. Really good advice. So you could only stay for 1 year.
I initially got a visa for about 1 year, I remember. Just pro tip to anyone, if you ever do a student
Yeah.
visa and you're an adult, you have to have a tremendous amount of money in your bank account unless your parents will sign off as like financially responsible for you. So save lots of money. That's what I
Have
had
that
to
cash in the
do.
bank.
Yeah, so I had a big emergency fund that was going to
Right.
help me in this journey. But I was there for a year. I was in the process of changing my visa over to a freelancer visa, which would really give me a pathway to stay in Spain. And I was working with a lawyer doing that and had to go home to change the visa. And then COVID hit and everything
Oh,
stopped.
dun, dun, dun. So you happened to have just gone home when COVID hit.
Exactly. I was
Oh,
arrived maybe 2 months before it happened. Yeah.
right. So then were you back there for a little while?
I went home and was kind of just going insane as everybody was. Like, oh, don't get me
I
wrong.
understand.
I was still working. I was actually getting more business. And that was the crazy
Yeah.
part. As we all know, if you worked remotely in 2020 in January, your phone never stopped ringing. And that was the case for me. So I was very busy, but I was going insane. And I decided to actually apply for a teaching position contract to go back to Spain. And I moved back to Spain in the middle of COVID just to have something to do. So,
That's nice. Yeah. Was
yeah.
that in 2020 or 2021 that you went
This
back?
was 20 I think I left in, oh my gosh, I honestly think I don't
The years all
remember.
blended together
It was
again.
the
That's
end of
okay.
it was the end of 2020 is when
Yeah.
my
Kind of got back
official
into the
job
world.
started. But I used there's a program in Spain that is very, very cool called Auxiliares de Conversación. And this program is specifically designed for North Americans who want to work and teach English part-time in Spain, and you need zero experience to apply. So if you are
Oh,
a young person, if you're looking for a visa that will cover your bills and make life a lot easier to go live in Spain for a while, that's a really good option. That's what I chose.
I love it. And I know like Spain kind of gave you the visa and the way to get there. Were you drawn to Europe just to be in Europe in general? Like, did something about Spain call to you? Like, why Spain or why Europe? Why not back to Thailand or somewhere?
The big difference for me is that as much as I loved Asia and it was a phenomenal experience, it is really, really challenging to work remotely to the United States when you're,
I was going to ask if it was time zone
yeah,
reasons. Yeah.
on that time zone. Unless you have a job that is perfectly asynchronous,
Yeah.
it
We
doesn't
love.
work well. Yeah,
Yeah, it's tricky. It's a lot of 11 p.m., 12 p.m. calls, 1 a.m. stuff.
brutal.
Yeah.
So I had to really think about that. I decided to do this a little less, be a little less bold. I'm older. It hurts to get up. Like
Right.
I don't want
I
to
do
try
that.
so hard.
Nice to get
So
up.
It was easier for me to choose Europe. And then, as I said before, Spain called me in there's a ton of countries that call me. I'll be totally honest with you.
Love it.
From a practical standpoint, to legally go there, Spain was the best choice.
That makes sense. Okay, so you're back in Spain post-COVID.
Yes.
And then what?
So I'm there. I'm in a different area of Spain. I'm in Malaga, which is beautiful in the south of Spain. I had an amazing time, albeit completely by myself. Which was kind of cool because if you're in Spain during COVID and you get that rare opportunity to like hop on a bus and go somewhere, you can go tour a castle completely by yourself.
Right.
Yeah, it's just incredible. So I was doing a lot of that, just solo exploration. And then that contract expired. I came back to the US again and had to decide, okay, what's the next trip? And by that time, my partner, who was exceedingly supportive of my life and what I want to do, he finally said, look, you've been gone like a really long time. This is really hard for me. Like maybe
Was
next
he
time.
Back in the States?
Yeah, he's American and he was back in
From Charlotte.
North Carolina. Yeah.
Okay.
So he was, encouraging me, maybe do something shorter term. So I did.
I love that he's so encouraging to, not I say like, quote, let you. We never like that as women, but supportive. Long distance relationships are hard. So, there's a lot of people who will be like, that's nice if you want to go, but like, we can't be together, right? So it's really cool that you were able to kind of do that and still keep this partnership.
Yes, it was, we did not, we formed that attachment just before COVID hit. So it was just kind of like, okay, we're not completely latched onto one another, but we can still do this and we can foster this relationship. So we did that. And then I found my next route, because again, you have to constantly adjust. My next route was to go to Ireland on a workaway assignment. So I used workaway this time.
So you just had this calling of like, you didn't let home keep you. It's like, even with the partner and everything there, you were like, there's places in the world I need to be and explore and do and see.
If I had to do it over again, with what I know now and where we are right now, I would have absolutely focused first on like just getting the really good remote job.
Fully. So that way you can literally be free to go whenever, wherever, and not have to rely on workaway or a visa or a
Exactly.
English.
I was scrambling, but I felt like that was my only option at the time. And workaway, if your audience doesn't know it, I mean, it's a wonderful site.
We don't talk about it much. Can you explain what it is?
It's a really cool site where you pay a small subscription fee. I think it's like $100 a year or something. And you can find mostly volunteer, but some paid part-time positions that offer free room and board to take them. And there is a whole slew of opportunities to travel the world on this program, but it does not offer a visa. So if you're an American and you want to go outside of the US, chances are you should only sign up for like a 3-month assignment unless you have some other way of getting a visa. But it was I'm not working part-time, I'm working full-time, but I'm still needing to save money and kind of plan the next thing. I didn't want to blow it just continually traveling. So I went and I lived with a family in Ireland on a goat cheese farm, and they
love you more and more every second.
They paid all my bill, or they didn't pay all my bills, but I had room and board. I helped take care of the kids, and it was just, I can't thank Vicky enough. She was my caretaker. It was and she was an instant friend and a guardian, and it's like you move and then the next day you have a family and they're just looking after you. It's amazing. So workaway is a great opportunity for that.
I was going to ask, and I'm so glad you shared that, because you never know what will be the right program fit. Maybe someone just wants to go 3 months somewhere and it's a great, place to start. Can you talk a little bit? So you've mentioned doing a lot of this solo, and for this one, you lived with a family. So for that one, I hear in Ireland, it's like you had this built-in kind of community family right away.
Yes.
Can you talk about whether it's there or also in Spain, like going solo to these places? I know a lot of people have a fear of like, what if I don't, meet anyone? What if I'm really lonely? Like, how do you, what was that like? Were you lonely a lot? Because part of traveling is like there are times of loneliness, but can you talk about what it's like as a solo female or solo traveler in general, and how you did you build community? Are you great at just being by yourself? Like, what was that like for you?
Absolutely terrible at being by myself. I am an extrovert at my heart and in my job. I've always loved people. It was incredibly challenging to make that transition and to let go of just interacting with my people on a daily
Yeah.
basis. I I had the confidence from having traveled solo to Thailand.
Yeah.
But the second time around, when I'm in Barcelona, which was my first trip, back overseas, I fought it really, really hard. But I will say, if you're a digital nomad or if you want to move abroad, Barcelona is one of the most open and friendly places you will ever go to. There are 1,000 meetups. Just pick one and go make some friends. Like, it's not that hard. So I made a ton of friends, particularly friends in the startup community and the freelancer community. They were all super supportive. I know you guys talked about meeting abroad yourselves and starting
Yeah.
Beach Commute. It's that same type of dynamic.
Yeah.
But that being said, the best advice I ever got was from my friend Manuel in Barcelona. And he said, look, you are the minority of a minority of a minority of people traveling around and living outside of your home and working remote. He was like, just get comfortable being lonely. And he was like, we love you, we're your friends, but you've got to accept that kind of comes with it, and just
Was
accept
he
it.
from Spain, or he was
No, he
also
was
traveling around?
actually, he was American, and
Okay. Like his lesson he had personally learned, it sounds like.
he had traveled just as much as I had. He's Mexican American. He's lived in Brazil. He's lived in all these different places. He was incredibly knowledgeable about what that world looks like. And you fight it all the time, but latch on to those one or two really good friends, and you
Yeah.
can make it work. But it's incredibly intimidating. The one thing I will say is, even if the most introverted person on the planet will figure out how to meet people to survive.
Yeah,
So
that's a good point.
never ever discount, I don't care if you like playing video games 13 hours a day and you shut yourself in your room most weekends. If you're in a foreign country and you have to figure out where toilet paper is and you don't know, you're going to go talk to somebody and find it.
Right. You will ask.
You'll surprise yourself at how social you will be, even the most non-social
I
person.
love that. And for someone, I love your tip on meetup groups. I know in Barcelona, one of my best travel friends was just there for a couple months, and she was like, there's all these people. She's like doing Joe Dispenza meetups and like morning yoga meetups and then like stand-up comedy meet. It's like so social, so easy to find. But for someone who's like totally new, who's maybe never left, never even gone to a foreign country, and they hear you and they're like, that sounds easy for you, Blythe. But like, how, when you say like, you just find meetups, are you finding them online? Are you finding them on Facebook? Like, where are you when you say go, if you were to say
Yeah.
someone arrives in Barcelona, how would they find these groups?
So meetup.com is one really easy option. As much as maybe it's not in vogue in the United States, Facebook is still very, very, very heavily utilized in the digital
Yeah.
nomad and international community in general. It takes some time because, especially if you're in a place like Spain, where Spanish is the official language, sometimes you have to search for things in Spanish. It's not going to be readily available or searchable or findable if you're looking for things in English. So you have to kind of get outside of that mold and really look. Another great thing to do, if you have the time and the money, is to take language classes with a group of people.
Good one.
And you will be exposed to local cultures. You will have teachers who will really care and look after you as they're teaching you. And you'll meet a ton of expats that are all
Yeah.
fighting the same frustrations you are. I met my first 10 friends were from my Spanish class.
That's a great
So
one because then you literally get other expats who are there to
100%.
make friends with who are doing the same thing. That's a good
Yeah.
one. I'm
I'm a
noting that.
really
I love that.
terrible online networker. I want to emphasize this. Like, I'm bad at social media, which is horrible for me to say because I work in marketing, but I
That's
just
okay. It
don't
doesn't make me like it.
I don't like it that much. So, I had to find ways where I could show up in person and have conversations with people.
Yeah.
Barcelona and some of the urban hubs where there any type of expat community, you'd be amazed how friendly and helpful people can be. You just have to
Yeah.
search for those groups.
And it's so different. I think people like I think about being in the US where people are it's hard to make friends as an adult. I think people think in the US people aren't really friendly and open in the same way factually. It's like you're not friendly, you're not talking to the person next to you at a restaurant or wherever at a coffee shop. But when you travel, other travelers like need friends, and there's something very different about like if you erase the mindset of what you know from back home about it being hard, travelers like you said, it's like we need people and people are wanting friends, so it's much easier to make these connections abroad strangely than it is often in your hometown, I've found.
It is true, especially because when you share that common oh
Right.
my God, what the hell is happening mindset, and you're trying to
Yeah.
figure it out together.
Call it
Latch
trauma
on,
bonding.
you want to latch on to anyone who's willing to give you some genuine help. I mean, I moved to Malta 2 years ago in 2023. The first person who called me was a real estate agent that I emailed about some help finding an apartment. That guy is so nice. He is permanently invited to my
Oh.
home at least
Oh.
twice a year if I can get him there. And I told him I still owe him an edible arrangement for the rest of his life
Oh.
because, but it's just those people will provide such invaluable support.
Yeah.
But you've got to seize upon that opportunity. Don't be afraid to just say, hey, can we hang out and go get a cup of coffee? I'm
Right.
scared.
I don't know anything. Please help me.
I know. And
That's
if someone's
awesome.
like, oh my God, I have a friend who lives there and you should reach out to them, don't
Do
sit
it.
on that. Go reach out to
Right.
them. I
Right.
promise you it'll help.
This is amazing advice. So you mentioned moving to Malta. Your partner, he's there also, or like went abroad with you. So at what
Yes.
point did he also make the leap, and when did you guys go together?
So that was interesting because the whole first year and a half, I think we were together, he kind of casually played with the idea like maybe I should come with you or go on one of these
Right.
trips. And my response was, no, you're not cut out for this. And
I love this.
I argued with him for
That is
months on
so
end.
funny.
I was like, you can't do it. You're not insane like me. I mean,
I love that. You tried to talk him out of it.
I
Like,
did.
this lifestyle's
Over,
not for you, honey.
it's not. I mean, it's really, he and we get along wonderfully, but we have very different personalities in the sense that he's ex-military. He loves structure. He loves routine. He wants to know
Nomad life.
he wants to know every minute of every day of what he's
Oof.
doing that
Right.
morning, and I'm kind of like, oh, that's a pretty butterfly. So,
Right.
you
Let's see
know,
where that goes.
I remember I can't remember the group. I wish I could. I'm so sorry. I actually reached out to a digital nomad women group on Facebook,
Yeah.
which is,
Yeah.
I find to be particularly helpful. This one group if you find that one group that's not toxic and gives amazing advice, like latch onto it.
That's awesome.
So
I love your hint about like in the US we think about Facebook of like "Ugh, it's so outdated or whatever, but in the nomad world it actually, like you said, is really helpful.
It is. So I kind of word barfed my frustration about, what do I do with this guy? Like he just,
That is hysterical.
and, I got some really good advice and people were like, hey, just, baby steps, get him abroad again. Or I say abroad again, he's actually ex-military. He was in the Navy for 10 years. He's traveled all over the world, but he's
in a very
traveled on
different way.
he's traveled on a boat, which he would get off and go party and then go back on the boat and work.
Right.
So it a little bit different, but they were like, hey, look, think about all the things he has done, regardless of,
Right.
his need for structure. He clearly can adapt to new opportunity or new environments. So I took that to heart. I forced him to go on his first 2-week vacation that he hadn't taken in like 10 years. It's sad, but he's American. What are you going to do? He
Makes
took
sense.
a 2-week vacation and he traveled with me in Ireland and all through the United Kingdom. We took a road trip. And
That's a good
it
road
was,
trip. It's
yeah,
the
this
perfect
was,
pushing of someone who like
oh,
hates not
yeah.
having structure. It's like I don't know where we'll end up at the end of this day. Like we'll see where we
So,
go.
yeah, it was the tail end of the workaway assignment. And the family that I lived with, the mom was British. And she was like, oh my God, I know exactly where to go. She helped me plan the whole trip.
Oh,
So,
amazing.
again, having
You
these
probably get all
local
the local
connections.
spots, not like here's the 10 places to go in the UK. Like you
I
got
did
the
not
real
use social media at all for this trip. I just used someone
amazing.
who actually knew it. So she helped me plan it out. We took the trip. We get home back to North Carolina, and he was so in love with the whole experience. And
Oh,
it was he just, he was in that like starry-eyed honeymoon phase, where he's like, "Oh
I
my
love
God, I
those
love
days
it
of
so much."
beginning
And
travel.
I know, I want to do it again. It's amazing. And I wanted to slap him and be like, get over yourself. Like, you went on vacation, like, calm down. And slowly but surely, months and months of this went by. He would not let it go. And he
Oh,
gave me this
amazing.
impassioned speech in our driveway one night. There were beers involved, trust me. But he was like, I've only got so many trips around the sun. This is what I want to do. I love you so much. We're doing this together. We're going to figure it out. So that was how we decided to make the move and
I love it.
become adult exchange students as a pair. We had no idea how we were going to do it. He worked in an office. He works in operations for a craft beer company. And he's very, very busy and went into the office quite a lot, even though he worked remote. So we were trying to figure out 1,000 different ways to do it. We finally decided, okay, he can quit his job, get a student visa to study something that he really wanted to learn, and then both of us could go.
Right, because that was like the path you knew.
That was the path that I knew, and that was the only thing he didn't really know. He was very intimidated by the idea of like just going and getting a remote job. We still didn't think that was realistic for us. So again, we're hard-headed. What can I say? So this was like 2022, and so he tried to quit. He quit his job, and his boss was like, "Forget it. You work remote. You can work remote from anywhere as long as you're from a reasonable time zone. I know you're responsible. You've been with the company for I think 6 years at that point. You'd be surprised the leverage you have if you've really demonstrated your value as an employee." And he definitely did. So they gave him carte blanche to leave, and we set things in motion and went the remote worker visa route.
That is incredible. I love it. And again, it just goes to show of one, it's like he didn't even know it was possible. You can always ask your current employer. The worst thing they can do is say no. Or I love that he was really, especially when you're really ready to leave regardless, you have so much more leverage because it's like, I'm going to go. If you want to keep, I know it wasn't even his plan, but that is what works really well. It's like, if you want to keep me, because it's hard to find replacements, someone who has the knowledge, like companies want good people to stay. So yeah, once you've been somewhere a while and proven yourself, you have so much more leverage to negotiate that. But I love that you found ways to make it work again.
Yeah, it was almost unbelievable. In fact, one of the biggest fights we ever had was after his boss told him he could just kind of go. And he didn't believe it. So for 2 days, he was refusing
like,
to admit this was actually happening. And I'm like,
funny.
Cher, snap out of it, and just like, what is wrong with you?
It's like they literally told you. What did he think wasn't true or real? Like what
He was like, that answer can't be so easy. I mean, that was really where his mind was going. But it really turned out to be a pretty straightforward experience after that. Malta has a really wonderful remote worker visa program. It is one of the most straightforward visa programs I have ever worked with in my life. Most of it is just literally a checklist online that you can go and so, okay. So it's still painful, trust me. All visas are painful. But it was a great opportunity. And then we moved to Malta. And we've been there ever since. We are in Italy at the moment for the summer because it is really hot in Malta right now. But that's really been our home for the last couple of years.
And isn't it cool how casual you can say, like, and we're just in Italy for the summer? So I assume
Yeah.
there you're just on like you have a tourist visa and you're there temporarily and then you go back to Malta,
Yes.
or
Well, if you have the remote worker visa, yes, you can
you
go
can be wherever.
anywhere in Europe.
Oh, nice.
Technically, you can do it anywhere in Europe for 90 days, as you said.
Right.
But you also have to keep in mind that if you fly from Malta to Italy and Malta to most European countries, you're not getting a passport stamp.
Right.
Like it's considered, it's
You.
like traveling within the states of the US.
Right. State to state.
Yeah, you just kind of go.
Yeah.
But we are mindful of that date, even though our passport's
Just in
not
case.
stamped. Just in
Right.
case, got to mind your P's and Q's. Trust me, it's a big deal. Yeah, so that's what we decided to do.
But yeah, well, thank you for sharing it, because at least with Jeff and I, like, we live in very different ways. Right now, at some point, we might settle in one country or spend some more time. I feel like we're leaning that way soon. But we talk a lot about just going on, travel visas and staying for a month or two or three and then on to the next place or back and forth. So for listeners to hear how you've really navigated visas is so helpful, because a lot of people have that question, and a lot of people do just like have a dream to go to one specific country or to go to Europe or go to Asia, or figure out what that looks like. So it's really neat to hear that you guys are doing that. And
Yes.
so and we'll get into some career stuff afterwards, because I know
Sure.
you and I were talking a little bit about that before. But right before we get to that, what's next for you guys? Do you have any thoughts of, like, will you stay in Europe? Where to
Yeah,
go
so
next?
we've really, really enjoyed Europe. Malta's remote worker visa has a maximum of 4 years.
Okay.
So after that, you get out. Malta is one of the most densely populated countries in the world, and there's just
I
no
didn't know
room for
that.
people. So,
Come in, get out.
and I respect that. Like it has treated us very, very well. So I'm happy to move on, and we are looking at the next chapter and what we want to do. We've really enjoyed being in Europe. To be quite honest, we have really, really saved a ton of money. And it's not that Malta is the cheapest place in the world, but we live very, very simply, and our priorities are very different when we're outside of the US. I feel like when I go home, as much as I love it, and my grandmother will kill me if I don't visit at least once a year, I feel like I'm just constantly buying stuff and being sold to and shopping, and
Yes.
there's a lot of just trying to keep up with life. I don't feel that over here as much. And, politics aside, I want to emphasize to anyone that do not move abroad because of politics. It is the stupidest idea in the whole world. Everybody's frustrated about politics. And all you're going to do is just move from one frustrated population to another. Do it because there's something calling you, because you really want to do it, because you have another purpose other than that. So for us, yes, we want to stay. I want to keep exploring while I have the opportunity. And I think going back to Spain is going to be the next step for that.
Back to where it called you. That's
Yes.
fun. But I love even what you're saying too about just different culture. And it is, when I come back to the US, I feel like it's like Amazon, purchase this, purchase. It's so much easier to buy things. I don't know why it is. When I'm traveling, I'm like, one, I don't have room anywhere to put anything. You don't
Nope.
think about it. But yeah, just living in different cultures that value different aspects of life, where it's not keeping up with the Joneses, and it's more about just, community or food or whatever that looks like. And before we hop to career stuff, have you guys have you built a community of friends and people in Malta? Like, what has it been like there for you?
Yes, I have. Like I said, I really like meeting people. And one of the easiest things to do in the whole world, if you want to make friends abroad, is offer to cook for people. And I happen to have a partner who is an amazing chef. So we have a rooftop with a barbecue, and we just bring as many random people over as possible to come
That's so
eat
cute.
it at our house. We rent from a local family. They have two amazing boys that are, I think, they're going to kill me if I get their ages wrong, but I'm guessing like 8 and 13. And we actually babysit for them all the time. Like we've
Oh,
become really good friends. They've quasi adopted us. And so
That's so cute.
we have that kind of local connection to the community. Malta has a huge expat community, somewhat similar to Barcelona, maybe a little bit different. But it takes time. You know, I've always said the best stuff comes after 2 months. You know, you really don't understand how much of just your life and what people do and what time they do it and how they do it and how much it's going to cost. That really takes a tremendous amount of time. There's programs like Wi-Fi Tribe that can cut down the time
Yeah.
needed because you kind of have some instant help.
Yeah.
But generally speaking, like you got to be patient. You really have to be patient, but definitely cook for people because they'll never turn down the food. Yeah.
Beautiful advice. I know Jeff will love that one. He likes
Yeah.
to cook and cook for people as well.
Hmm.
So good. You've shared so many amazing nuggets throughout that I know people are going to find so helpful because you're living pretty differently. Like, again, and I think it's such an amazing example of how different digital nomad life can look. Like, we've
Yes.
both been living the digital nomad life, and yours is very different. So, you know, you don't have to live like I do. You don't have to live like Blythe does. But I think just hearing different like bits and pieces and making it, you know, if you're listening, whatever you want it to be, it's like the world is truly your oyster. So for there, let's take a couple minutes and then we'll wrap up soon. But can you share? So you and I were talking a little bit before about some career stuff. Obviously, that's
Yes.
like one of my passions and what we help at Beach Commute. And actually, before we do, how long, like, where did you find the Beach Commute podcast? How did you start? And can you share your routine of listening? Because it was so fun.
Yes. So my partner actually found you first
Okay.
because he was really supportive of me kind of just developing my career in general.
Yeah.
As I said before, I feel like I figured out the travel part and the living
Right.
part before I figured out the
The
career
career
part.
aspect.
Yeah, and now I'm having to really fine tune that aspect of it. So he found you guys through your email list and I noticed your podcasts and I live on the Mediterranean and I have a paddleboard and in the mornings, I go outside and I get on my paddleboard with my speaker and attach it and listen to you guys because it's like the perfect amount of time for me to get some good exercise, paddling out to the end of the bay and then coming back to my house. So
I'm obsessed. I
it's
love paddleboarding too.
yeah, it's just a nice little quiet time, and I mean, you're on the med, you can see right to the bottom. It's absolutely beautiful. So it's I've taken a lot of pictures on that paddleboard just to remind myself how lucky I am to get to do
Oh,
that.
you have to send us some. I want to see them. We'll live vicariously
Okay.
through you there. So you have that. You started finding this, and now I know you've been thinking more about career switching, like what to do, learning a lot from us at Beach Commute. So wherever you want to start, do you want
Yeah.
to share kind of like where you're at, what you're looking for, and the challenges you've been facing?
Yeah, so before I was really just piecing together clients, part-time clients that fit my marketing wheelhouse, but I wasn't really saying no to anything, to be honest
It's
with
like
you. It
whatever
was just
comes
sort
your
of
way.
like, oh my God, this is gonna be great. Let's do that. It was a great learning experience. I mean, working for yourself, my God, it really kind of forces you to grow up in terms of understanding how business works, how your obligations work, tax planning. I mean, all these things are like just, it can get very overwhelming, but it's worth trying. But as I was considering the next goal and how to maybe narrow my focus, I found the things that I really loved to do. And I really love working with CRM systems like Salesforce. I got certified in that. I really love connecting different systems in marketing. So marketing operations is really my wheelhouse now. It's what I've really thrown myself into training for. I'm fortunate enough that I got a part-time contract in more of this space to have a little bit more experience, but I'm still developing that out. And this, Beach Commute to me was such a great way to understand how to apply for jobs in the modern market because I haven't applied for a job since I think 2012. Like I have never ever I've always gotten a job through knowing people and I've never had to market
Best
myself.
way to do it.
It's just, yeah, it's true, but it's like, you know what? I want to actually be really intentional. So your ideas of targeting companies that you really want to work with resonated with me because I can speak so passionately about certain things. And the backdoor method of reaching out to people and forging connections. As I mentioned before, I'm a terrible online networker. You guys have kind of helped me, break that down maybe a little bit. I'm getting a little bit better. I'm getting more comfortable. But heck, I've lived so many places. I talk to so many different people. Why not just do it online? So I am getting better at that, but it's really tough.
Yeah, and and you took our masterclass, I think you said,
I
on the
did.
backdoor method. So we can link to that. I'll try to remember to link to that in the notes here. Because you were mentioning how helpful that was and just some of the changes that you've made and just like rethinking who you reach out to and how you reach out to them and what you say. And as the next part, I know you mentioned a challenge of now like having your resume be kind of marketing focused and looking now at more of like marketing systems and operations. So can you talk a little bit about the challenge now, which I love that you were so intentionally looking now at, like, I don't have to take just anything. Like, what are you looking at really, like, what do you really want to do and what lights you up? And so you were mentioning that before. Can you talk about the challenge you're facing with that now?
Yes, my challenge is I have to hang out with tech bros and it sucks. I don't, that's such a terrible thing to say, but I really have to associate and work with people that are not making pretty pictures on Canva anymore, and are not just worried about aesthetics. I'm working with people that are like hardcore into the numbers and systems and how things work. And there's a learning curve there. I'll be 47 in a couple of weeks. So I've just had to embrace that and learn. I've learned so much just from realizing, oh my gosh, there is a generation behind me that's doing really, really cool stuff, and I have to start paying attention to it. I mean, that's really what
the landscape is changing so fast.
You cannot stop learning. It's just so important.
Yeah. And as we were talking about your resume to go to like the next kind of thing that you're looking for, what challenges have you been facing, or just as you're looking for something new that's slightly different as you transition?
The resume part is tough because there's only so much keyword stuffing you can do to a resume. I've gotten much more adept at using ChatGPT and generative AI to quickly make modifications, but not necessarily reinvent the wheel. I really strongly believe that you have to stay consistent. I mean, people can see through if you're representing yourself on LinkedIn one way and then giving them a totally different resume in another. That doesn't work. So all of that is just breaking through the barrier to get noticed. But I really do strongly agree with your assessment that it has to be coupled with a sincere effort to connect to people and get known. I do some writing. I have an Instagram of sock monkeys. I think of anything that I can just to put myself out there in a way that's me and that I'm comfortable with. And that's really the best I can do at this point.
Yeah. And you're doing so great. I know we were talking a little bit before about the backdoor method and different things that you've been doing and in ways that it's been working. And I gave you the example of it can be so frustrating when you apply to jobs that we posted something. And I think I said we had, I want to say it was like 400 applications in the first hour or two. And it's so overwhelming on our side of like, where do we start? There's probably hundreds of good people in here, but like we can't possibly look at everything. And so you and I were talking about just like the power that it really has of like just reaching out, connecting with real people. Like, what do you say? Who do you reach out to? How, like, what do you ask them when you're talking to them in a way to when they have that job opening? It's like, oh, I talked to Blythe. I know her. Like, forget the 400 other applications. Start there. And companies are happy to do it when they have amazing people like you. And especially when you're transitioning to something new, like you said, or something even if it's slightly different, it's just so hard to break through on a resume alone. So really doing that backdoor method and meeting people, getting your foot in the door, like you said, at the companies you actually are interested in, it is all the magic in the world. So
it really
link
is.
to that. We have covered so much today, more than I ever, like, so many fun things that I didn't see coming, which I just love learning people's stories, and especially with travelers of, like, I'm still obsessed with the like Thailand experience in the past there, and everything you've done. But even, like, it's so inspirational, even just like meeting your partner, still not giving up your love of travel, like trying to figure out, like, can he come along with that? What does it look like? Not like there's so, and even just the meetups that you do and the loneliness that you have and the ways you find, it's going to be an inspiration to so many people. So if anybody is inspired by your story or wants to reach out or hear from you, is there somewhere that they can connect with you?
Yes, of course. So I have my LinkedIn page, which is Blythe Hooker. Uh, it is Hooker, Hooker. If anyone just did a double take, I totally understand. But it's Blythe Hooker on LinkedIn. It's Blythe Hooker on Instagram and Facebook. You can easily find that. I have my Instagram account of my travels called Steve and Glinda Uncharted. And Steve and Glinda Uncharted is our sock monkeys that are basically our avatars. And they go on adventures that are probably a lot cooler than mine because I tend to work during the week. So Steve and Glinda is another fun one. And I'm also on Medium, and I don't write terribly often, but if you're looking for some humor and insight from a 40-year-old woman who transported herself to Spain and got lost 1,000 times, then I highly recommend it.
That is amazing. And if you're listening and you wanted the job alerts and the daily emails that Blythe was mentioning as well, you can go to beachcommute.com/email to get our daily emails. They're super helpful with job alerts and all different travel tips and things like that. But Blythe, if someone's listening and whether they're, in their 20s when you first started, or 30s or 40s or 50s, we have people in their 60s, all of the above. If someone's listening and they're, like, dreaming of whether it's digital nomad life, moving around, or just moving to a country to start in the way that you did, and they're like, I don't know, it seems like a lot, I don't know where to start, what job to get, how do I even get a visa, whatever that obstacle is, what would you say to somebody listening today?
I would say to be patient first, because, when I moved at 40 and became a digital nomad, I did it in 9 months from start to finish. Okay. It was way too short. And my partner took a year and a half, or about a year, and his was way too short. We both look back and think that was ridiculous. So give yourself plenty of time. There's no rush. Countries are not packing up and going anywhere last time I checked.
You're saying take that time before you even necessarily have to leave your home. Like, when you get the idea, take your time to prepare and plan and get there. That's what you're saying.
You have to take time. You have to balance what you really want to do with your responsibilities to your family, to yourself. Keep in mind that if you don't pay your taxes, if you overstay your visa, in either one of those situations, your passport is taken away from you. You no longer travel anymore. So
right. Or you're not allowed in that country for a while.
Exactly. I always say, like, going off the grid is the slippery slope to your parents' basement. So if you don't plan,
we'll call that.
Yeah, if you don't plan, like, that's going to happen. And it's honestly, it didn't happen to me in that dramatic of a way, but it's still very hard. It's very hard to come back when you don't want to. So I would definitely really put in the time and be patient. You'll know once you start putting in that time, you'll know whether you're cut out for it. Trust me. Because if you get through those obstacles, if you find a lawyer and apply for a visa or find a job or anything, when you accomplish that, you're either in or you're out at that point. So you kind of know this life takes sacrifice, but you'll know if you're ready for it, if you really are proud of those moments when you overcome those challenges.
And you mentioned, I have like 2 more things. I feel like I could ask you a million questions. Mm-hmm. You're so fun to talk to, but you just mentioned, like, this life takes sacrifice, and I would 100% agree. For you, what has made it worth it? So you've been through, like, a lot of confusion, visas, language, loneliness, all of these things along the way, and yet you kept going. So you were like the crazies in this world. But what makes that sacrifice worth it for you along this journey?
So I look back to when I was like 8 years old, and I used to love to go to the library. And my mom would take me to the library, and my favorite section was this aisle of books on other countries. And I would sit there and pull off any book off the shelf I could and set it on the floor and just thumb through pages of anything. I was mildly obsessed with other places. My parents didn't travel. My family, back in the 80s and 90s, like we didn't go anywhere. But I just had this curiosity about the world that I wanted to fulfill. So I knew from a very young age that that was always in me and something I loved. I went to Thailand and realized, oh, it's really something I love, but I'm not
Like,
ready
wow.
yet,
Right.
And so, and today I would say that I feel very fulfilled by doing that. I realize that I'm a natural explorer. I love to learn, and I see the world from such a bigger picture now. And that's really special to me. I see how we're all different and how we're very much the same in what we bitch about. So it just,
You
the
did
world,
mention with the politics.
yeah,
You're like, it's just a different flavor of politics.
exactly. I mean,
Same problem, different place.
I think that just to me, the world makes more sense the more that I explore it. The
Yeah.
internet is a wonderful tool. It's not a window to the world. Your 2 feet are. So just go.
You are full of quotes. Sorry, that's Owen. That's so good as well. And then with family back home, one thing you mentioned, or just you've mentioned kind of a little bit along the way of like how close you are with your sister or your grandmother. As you think about that, and I just think about sacrifice and being far away, a lot of people I think are afraid, not even someone's afraid or feel bad or guilty or leaving family. So what has that been like for you through this process?
It was very difficult at first. As I said, I grew up, with a family that didn't share my curiosity. So, but they were always very supportive of me. They knew it was something I loved. But it's been very, very hard. I've lost family members while I was overseas. That's probably the most devastating thing. I always say like a little treasure chest of emergency money to go home if I need to for whatever reason. So I highly recommend just having that little bit, even
That's good advice.
for whatever reason you need. The turning point for me with my family was when my mom and dad realized that medical care is very, very good in Europe. And I was going to be well taken care of if I ended up in the hospital or the doctor. Because my
That was their
dad,
fear for you.
exactly, it happened in Thailand. I was very well taken care of.
Right.
And in Europe, it was because my dad came to visit me and he ended up in the hospital. And he was there
Oh.
for a week. And again, had amazing care. It didn't cost them any money. They had a little insurance plan that covered everything. And it's funny how my mom seemed to just relax about the
Wow.
fact that I would be okay. And it
Yeah.
was really just because she's my mom and she just didn't want me to get hurt.
Yeah.
But that was a huge thing for her was to know that.
Yeah. I know my parents, no matter where I go, I think they'll always still feel that way. They're your parents and they want to make sure you're safe. And if
Oh,
something
it's
happens, you'll be okay. So, but to go
yeah.
and it's so different for parents, like when they're on the ground and they experience that and it's like, oh, this is also a safe place. There's also medical care and healthcare. Like she's okay here. And then also they
Yes.
probably, I don't know if this, like see you thriving potentially and like the beauty of Malta, the community or the neighborhood or the slowness of life or what I don't know. I think for me, it's taken a while, but I feel like my parents eventually saw like how happy and like what this lifestyle did for me, and then it's like the scariness goes away a little bit, and like seeing your child thrive like really expands, and that's a beautiful moment, I think.
I agree, and I can't speak for my mom and dad and my family in that sense. I do think we are living in an age now where more and more people are traveling, more and more people are opening up to the idea of being mobile. I now have several family members that live abroad, and it's no
Oh,
longer I'm no longer special. It kind of
you're
stinks.
not the black sheep anymore.
No. So the the world is changing in that way. And I think people
Yeah.
are just getting more and more okay with you being a complete goofball and wanting to go have an adventure.
Yeah. I love it. Well, what a beautiful place to end there. So, Blythe, thank you for sharing your story. It was such a fun one. I know it's going to help
Thank
so many
you.
people. You guys have her contact info if you relate or feel the need to reach out or say anything. And it's just so fun. Like, you know, if you're listening to this podcast, again, Blythe was just a podcast listener, an email subscriber who, you know, reached out to us and shared a little bit. I was like, I would love for everyone to hear your story. So if you're that person as well, who you think you'd, you know, have a story to share like this, we'd love to hear. Write us in hello@beachcommute.com, and we'll see you next week.